Let's break down the main event of UFC 320. We got Magomed Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira, number 2. And listen, man, the first fight, it was competitive. Don't get me wrong. It just wasn't the fight that people expected to see, right? You got this knockout monster, Alex Pereira. If you look at the resume, just how many knockouts in a row? 4 knockouts in a row. Yuri twice, Jamal Hill, Khalil Roundtree. Even though we saw the beginnings of what were some cracks in the foundation of Alex Pereira in that Khalil Roundtree fight. Khalil was faster. He was on him, countering, right? It took Pereira a minute to find his groove. But once he entered that flow state, it was over. You know what I mean? You could see it. Because I remember I was at the crib watching that with some friends, and I was all like, yo, Pereira really about to lose? Or I was like, he's about to go to a decision? Like, what's up with this fight? But then you saw him lock on. All right, cool. Ankalaev, though, in that fight, man, the guy had been saying forever, he's going to be the champ. He's going to be the champ. He has the style. 0 for 12 on takedowns. So, that was, the reason. I was like, yeah, he could strike. But I was like, but he's a grappler. And Alex Pereira hasn't faced a really good grappler. How do you bounce back from 0 and 12 on takedowns while simultaneously talking about, yeah, I'm not going to take him down. I'm just going to knock this dude out. Again, it's like, what are we doing here? So what is your read on this matchup? Because I'm not going to lie. I'm a little in between.
And we'll talk about the numbers later, but even the numbers are in between, Derek. This fight's all over the place, but how you bounce back from an 0-12 takedown, basically shutout. You talk shit up front. You say you're going to knock him out. First thing you do, you go Hamzat style. First second out the gate, you shoot a takedown. That's what I see Magomed doing, or at least pushing some pressure on him. Because we even saw in the last fight, man, Magomed at distance, at range, keeping that range and keeping that pressure going, he was looking phenomenal. Yeah, there was a couple moments where things got a little dicey, a little competitive, if you will. But Magomed was able to stay composed, and that front kick and that just keeping that distance, man, worked really, really well for him. I see him playing the same kind of game. The one thing you don't want to do against Poatan is get inside that bubble and then have the nuclear option available to your chin. That is one thing you want to avoid. Magomed's great at it, and he showed he is very technical. Call it boring, call it whatever you will, but he is technical. He stays composed, and he knows how to win the fight against when a style is very dangerous as Poatan's.
And clearly he could win without having to take him down. You know what I mean? That's really the most dangerous part. That's the reason why I'm looking at the odds right here. I mean, Ankalaev minus 265 favorite. Dog, they were just saying Alex Pereira was the GOAT, that he was the greatest fighter that the UFC has ever seen. This was a couple months ago. So it's all right, how fast things change right here, that the GOAT is now plus 200. Live dog, super live dog. I will admit that. You know what I mean? I think Alex Pereira can win this fight because he has the nuclear option. I just don't see it based on how the first fight went, unless there were some real major injuries that he had where he just was not at 100% and he couldn't fight to his full capacities. I'm going to circle back to one of the earlier fights we talked about. Ankalaev is basically Yuri 2.0 when it comes down to not checking calf kicks. So it's all right, bro, no, legit. If you want to break this man down, I think he could break him down within 5 calf kicks. Just boom, just bam, 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 bam. All right, it's the second round, and now this man is immobilized and can't move. So I don't know what happened to that in the first fight, but I do think you're right. The teep kick of Ankalaev and the distance management made it really, really difficult for Pereira to just come and stock the way he likes to come and stock, because he's not fast. He's not fast, bro. He's not super technical defensively. He gets touched up. He just walks you down. Boom, calf kick. Boom, left hook, right? Ankalaev, I think he's going to play that game. But it's who gets aggressive first? Who, if you really want to land that knockout, is Pereira, evil Pereira is what they're calling him. Is he going to come in out of character and be I'm just going to hunt this dude down and knock him out? What do you think?
Man, if he does, Derek, that would be shocking, because you were saying earlier that with their injuries and the things that were going on with Pereira, he was a different fighter, right? And we saw a little bit less of a normal style, but as far as just his constant, his homeostasis, it was pretty similar to that last fight, right? We're not seeing him just jump in, throwing 5 different combos, leading the dance and getting to work, right? If he comes out there and does that, man, I'm going to be just as shocked as if I see Magomed shoot a takedown first second of the fight. Both of those would be a completely turning of the tide. I just don't see that happening, man. These guys, they're 38, 33 years old. I don't see them drastically changing their fight approach going in there, especially with how dangerous Poatan is even to this day. He's just not going to go in there and recklessly throw it all away. He has to be able to find his moments and capitalize on them. Same thing for Ankalaev. So I see this fight going very similar to how he did last time. But if those calf kicks, if Poetan, and I think if I remember correctly, he started to land a couple, and then he kind of just abandoned it because Ankalaev was switching up the stances in the last one. He wasn't able to get really a lot of good movement on that front lead when Magomed's on in his orthodox stance on that left lead leg. So if he is able to just land a couple 3-1s, right, 3 hard ones right off the jump, that'll turn the tide for Poetan, and then we could really see him get to work. But it's going to be all predicated on that.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, we'll see. If there's anything to take from this, and I'm not saying that you guys should take anything from this, but I never like to hear one foot out the door type conversations, and that's what you're hearing from Pereira already. I don't know how much longer I could make light heavyweight. And it's like, damn, bro, how did you fight at middleweight? How are you just starching these dudes at middleweight? And now you can't make a light heavyweight. Now you want to go up and fight Tom Aspinall. You know what I mean? Maybe that's the fight that they're building up. Maybe he says, I win the light heavyweight strap, and then I go up and I become literally the GOAT. And 3 times, not going to be the first to do it, but it would be very impressive nonetheless. All right, man, listen, the pick is in. And surprisingly enough, it is consensus. Magomed Ankalaev, and still, I don't know who in the light heavyweight division is going to beat this dude. I think it's going to take a while. And especially because if Ankalaev does the full package and doesn't care about being exciting and wrestles, it's a wrap for these guys, man. So Ankalaev is the pick. Minus 265 is a price that I would actually be willing to pay in this exchange, believe it or not. Am I going too far out on a limb, or are there other wagers that should be placed here?
Oh, there's some other wagers. There's a lot of money to be won on this fight. Like I said earlier, there, depending on where you look, like there's money to be made. Because if you're thinking that Magomed Ankalaev there and Pereira, they're gonna have the exact same fight as last time, right? Nothing too much is gonna change. There might be a couple nuances, but overall, it's gonna be a decision over. Excuse me, over 4.5. That's how shocking it is, right? Over 4.5 is plus 100 right there.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That was a same thing in the last fight. So people are thinking this fight is going to change. People are thinking that whether it's Pereira or Ankalaev, they're going to switch something up. And if it does happen under at minus 128, under 4.5, like there's still a lot of money right there. So personally, Derek, I like the over, but then you go and you look at the methods of victory. Magomed by points, that's plus 145. I believe there's a lot of good. Alex Pereira by KO, which is his most likely one, plus 280. So if whichever way you're leaning, folks, right? If you're an Ankalaev better, you're a Poetan better. There's some plus money on these numbers for very likely outcomes to happen.
Fight to start round 4, minus 148. Okay, we got some totals.